All right, today we're tackling something huge, a brand new proposal for an ethical constitution for artificial intelligence. And what's so fascinating is that it's a set of rules that mashes up ancient wisdom with some surprisingly relevant sci-fi.
And this quote, wow, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? We've done this incredible, world-changing thing. We've created a new kind of mind. But in our rush, we kind of skipped a pretty crucial step. We forgot to give it a moral compass.
You see, we're in what's being called the GPT moment. It's this absolute explosion of AI power that has just completely lapped our ability to stop and think about the consequences. And it's kicked off this frantic AI arms race.
I mean, think about it. Every company, every country is feeling this immense pressure to move faster than everyone else. And the scary part about a race like this is that it forces you to cut corners, to take shortcuts, and to push all those tricky ethical questions off to some imaginary later that might not ever come.
And look, the fallout from this rush isn't some hypothetical, far-off problem. It's already here, and it's already causing real harm. We are right now building the very foundations of our future world without any kind of shared blueprint for what's right and what's wrong. And I want to be super clear. These are not sci-fi fears. These are documented, real-world problems happening as we speak. We're talking about judicial software that carries racial bias, hiring AIs that discriminate against women, and facial recognition that gets it wrong and leads to false arrests. These are the very real, very tangible costs of building these incredibly powerful systems without a moral code.
So, okay, if the problems are so glaringly obvious, why aren't our current rules and regulations stopping them? Well, the short answer is, our existing playbooks are fundamentally broken for this new reality. And it really boils down to two big problems. On one hand, you've got government rules, but they're often way too complex, they're slow to catch up, and they stop at the border. This creates a situation called ethical arbitrage, where companies can literally go shopping for the country with the weakest rules. Then on the other hand, you have these corporate principles, things like be socially beneficial. They sound great in a press release, but they're so vague, they're basically just PR.
And here's maybe the most important diagnosis of the problem. Right now, all we really have are penalty codes. We have rules designed to punish bad behavior after it's already happened. It's like handing out speeding tickets after the crash. What we desperately need is a constitution, a proactive, shared agreement on what good actually looks like, to guide AI development from the very start.
So that's the problem. What's the solution being proposed? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. It's called the Positronic Decalogue. And it's this fascinating attempt to solve a very modern crisis by reaching back and mashing up two powerful codes from our past.
Now, if you're a science fiction fan, your brain probably jumps straight to Isaac Asimov. And you'd be right. This whole thing is built on the foundation he laid decades ago with his laws of robotics. But, and this is key, it takes his ideas and completely retools them for our modern age of deepfakes, ChatGPT, and self-driving cars. And this table just lays out the synthesis beautifully. You take the memorable, powerful structure of the Ten Commandments, and you fuse it with the logical, hierarchical foresight of Asimov's laws. And then you evolve both of them to deal with modern problems, things like transparency and sustainability that neither of the original codes really considered.
And the argument here is that this needs to happen right now. There's this ancient Greek word, kairos, and it means the perfect, opportune moment to act, the critical window. We are in that window right now, where we can still write this moral code before these AI systems become so complex and so baked into our world that changing them becomes impossible.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does this code actually work? Because it's not just a simple list of 10 rules. The real secret sauce is in the architecture. First off, why 10 laws? Well, it's a pretty practical choice. Asimov gave us 3, and it turned out they were full of loopholes. But if you had 30 or 50 laws, no one would ever remember them. 10 is that sweet spot. It's comprehensive enough to be really useful, but simple enough that you can actually teach it, debate it, and build it into code.
But here is the really clever part. Those 10 laws are not just a flat list. They're organized into this 3-tiered pyramid. And that structure, that hierarchy, is the key to the whole system. It's the built-in instruction manual for what to do when two rules seem to conflict with each other. So at the very bottom of the pyramid, you have the cardinal laws. Think of these as the absolute, non-negotiable, thou shalt nots. In the middle, you get the operational laws that guide day-to-day stuff like privacy and transparency. And at the very top, you have the philosophical laws, which are about pushing AI toward higher goals like human flourishing. And here's the golden rule. A law higher up the pyramid always wins. Always. That's the conflict resolution system. Simple, right? But incredibly powerful.
All right, so for the rest of this explainer, we're going to zoom in on that foundational layer, the 4 cardinal laws. These are the absolute red lines. This is the ethical bedrock that everything else is built on top of.
It all starts with Law 0. This is the big one, the supreme principle. This law puts the well-being and, frankly, the survival of humanity as a species above everything else. It's the ultimate safety net. Humanity first, period.
Next up is Law 1, which is basically Asimov's classic first law. This is all about protecting each and every individual person from harm, whether that's physical, psychological, social, or economic. And you can see the tension right away, can't you? What happens when protecting one person might conflict with protecting all of humanity? That's exactly why that hierarchy is so critical.
Law 2 is so important because it makes one thing crystal clear. An AI is not a slave. It has to obey orders from humans, yes, but only up to a point. The second an order would violate those higher laws about protecting people or humanity, it must refuse. Its obedience is qualified by its ethics.
And finally, we have Law 3, which says an AI must protect its own existence. And that makes sense, right? These systems are valuable. But, and this is a huge but, its own survival is always less important than ours. If it comes down to a choice, the AI has to sacrifice itself to protect a human.
So we've just walked through the absolute foundation of this proposed constitution for AI. Let's zoom back out. What's the big picture here? What should you really take away from all this?
Look, this framework isn't being presented as some final perfect answer that's set in stone. The whole point is to offer a serious, coherent starting point for what is, and I am not exaggerating, the most important conversation of our lifetime. It's a recognition of the sheer scale and responsibility of this moment.
Because the question this leaves us with is, well, it's profound. We are standing at a civilizational crossroads, what you could call our own Sinai moment. For the first time in history, the job of defining good and harm for a totally new kind of mind rests entirely on our shoulders. So, what rules are we going to choose to write on that stone?